to spend a staggering $320 billion in AI in 2025. That's like a 63% increase, in terms of investment from last year. And this investment is not just about improving AI models. It's about infrastructure. It's about building AI agents. It's about creating the next generation of AI powered systems, right? That will run the business, lead the business fronts, lead public services. That's what this investment is about. And why does it matter to everybody? Because the scale of investment shows that AI is not a trend, it's an irreversible transformation. Companies that embrace AI agents early will build an unshakable advantage over the other competitors in terms of automation, in terms of decision making. And just one statement that AI is no longer an experiment, it's a $320 billion reality in today's time. And while all the companies, all the big techs are investing in it so much, there's a new challenge that's emerging, right? That how do businesses actually make AI agents work? Because even if businesses plan on, hey, I want to invest in this AI agent technology, but how do I make the best use out of it, or where do I deploy it, right? So, AI agents, clear vision but unclear roadmap is what most businesses are suffering with. So, major corporations are racing to implement AI agents that can work independently across verticals, across multiple tasks. They can improve efficiency, improve customer experience. That's like a dream category of AI agents all business leaders want, right? But there's a challenge that companies are not struggling with whether or not to adopt AI. They are struggling on how do we implement it, on how do we train employees, on how do we ensure seamless deployment, and how do we prove the tangible ROI out of this investment. These are real business problems that are coming for every company who wants to invest in this space. And that's why I always say, right, that AI agents are clearly the future, but organizations that don't rethink their business models and how their workflows are happening, if they don't want to transform them, then they may have a risk of falling behind. So, hence a statement that companies that master AI agents will dominate the next era of will dominate the next era of automation, right? And now that I've pretty much talked about like couple of things that's happening latest, we've covered like what's happening in AI. Let's explore how this applies to public sector, to public services, and the real world government problems, right? And just a thought, just a thought. Imagine a world where government services worked like your favorite application. Like they were that easy to navigate. Like they were instant, efficient, and available on demand. And that's what today's session is about, using AI agents to revolutionize public services, making them faster, more responsive, and truly citizen centric. And to break this down, let me hand over this session to Aaron to take this forward. So over to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Radhika, for that great introduction. And as you mentioned, my name is Aaron Mingani. I lead the head of growth here at Superbity. Really excited to be talking today on, the lovely world of AI agents for government. I also have with me an expert in this field, Brett Frazier. Brett, if you don't mind giving, a quick introduction on your side, and then we can jump right into it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm Brett Frazier, Executive Vice President of Technical Services at NSS. I've watched the automation industry evolve over the past 19 years, and I've helped a multitude of clients across the globe realize the value of RPA and agentic AI and what it can deliver across most horizontals and verticals. I now specialize in delivering solutions that see, say, think, and act for the public sector and beyond. Aaron?
Fantastic. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And Brett, just to kick things off, what are you seeing today in the differences between, traditional legacy RPA what's the difference between that and AI forward agents and solutions on that side? If you could, elaborate the key differences there and what you're seeing.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say differences. I would more say limitations of what we had compared to what we need now. So biggest differences come in scalability, maintenance costs, unstructured data, siloed automation, and compliancy gaps. Those are the big 5 areas I look for huge differentiation to occur. Now, if we think of traditional RPA, it typically starts with task automation, which then evolves into intelligent automation, which can then cross a chasm to enterprise hyperautomation. But most clients stopped at task automation, which of course has its place. It's been built for structured data, rules-based processes, but it struggles to scale across complex enterprise-wide operations. That's why we really haven't seen the push or enterprise adoption for massive, crazy advanced automation. Now with scalability, obviously, as organizations expand automation efforts, robots or workflows or bots, whatever you want to call them, they become fragile. They break when applications update. They break when interfaces change. We've all seen this, and that's okay. But this frequent need for ongoing maintenance limits the efficiency that true agentic AI can provide right out of the box. And it also makes large-scale deployments difficult. But I see this as somewhat limiting the full potential of what automation can provide. And then, of course, those maintenance costs increase total cost of ownership. Like I said, even tiny UI changes can cause these bot failures. That gives downtime, lost productivity, expensive rework, stuff like that. The high maintenance model, it's challenging for organizations to achieve long-term success. And then, of course, our friend data, with struggles with unstructured data, that's kind of the biggest hurdle that I always have to deal with first. Robotic process automation excels at handling structured data, good, but it struggles with unstructured content like emails, scanned documents, PDFs. As organizations and agencies rely on diverse data sources, AI-driven automation wins. Intelligent document processing has to be there if there's a paper document. Natural language processing has to be there if there's some sort of citizen services or conversational AI or the reason to ask your data questions. That's all now essential for managing unstructured workflows with unstructured data. And without AI capabilities doing this, traditional RPA falls short, especially towards modernization efforts. And I mentioned above siloed automations, right? Slow deployments. That's what siloed bots do. Many RPA implementations existing in a silo with bots operating by themselves rather than being integrated. We used to call it attended or double-click automation. That slows down the ability for other groups to use repeat automation. Additionally, our development cycles have been slow. We've added too many resources, but maybe that's what was required back in those days. Now it's simple, low-code, cloud-based. You can talk to it and build your own workflows with what I've seen with Superbity. At the same time, we got to keep human in the loops, and anytime there's data, we got to talk about security. Now, there's not an intrinsic governance model in the majority of RPA platforms. There's no access control, compliance monitoring, or anything like that. It's mostly transaction focused. Did the bot do its job? That makes regulatory requirements difficult. And organizations today, it's got to be integrated. So at a conference last year, I asked a panel of public sector leaders if they're looking for an RPA platform and service vendor that provides more cost-effective licensing, do they want greater integration capabilities, or do they want next-level automation deployments and services? Across the NASA, USDA, and Office of Personnel Management, their answer was yes, as RPA only got them so far. Aaron, does that make sense?
Brett, that makes perfect sense to me, and I think a lot of this is demystifying There's so many terms today buzzing. Everyone knows about RPA. People are hearing AI solutions. People are hearing AI agents, but I think you hit the nail on the head, right? AI agents, these Superbity AI solutions work on top of existing as-is processes today, looking at structured, semi-structured, and most importantly, unstructured data, and intelligently taking care of that task with the capability of human on the loop and human in the loop steps along the way. And one thing I think it's very important to point out is the security side, as you mentioned, right? So today you do need, when you're looking at anything related to AI, you need to have that full visibility, that full auditability. What is an AI solution, an AI agent doing? How did it think through a process? What input files did it look at? What output files did it look at? And I'm happy to say that that's really a key differentiator that Superbity has perfected. Right, we knew for the last 6 years that in going down this route, this is where enterprises, governments, cities, municipalities, state governments, that's all where the most important aspects will be. And I'm glad to say that in our solutions today, we can clearly and adequately show that. So maybe I can just touch for 10 seconds on the security side of that certification side, right? So every AI agent from Superbity is HIPAA compliant, SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, ISO 27001 compliant, GDPR compliant, FedRAMP compliant. And it takes a lot of effort to meet those requirements, right? And we've really built out a stable structure there. So I think that's really showing at the speed at which we're able to deploy and really work with new government entities. So maybe, Brett, on that note, can we talk a little bit about a few use cases where you see AI solutions and AI agents playing a role in the government space? And if you want to segment it out by cities or state or federal, however best you see fit, please go for it.
I see it all as public sector. That includes federal government, Department of Defense, civil government, state, local, county, and higher education. Fed and SLED, we say. But good question. Let's talk about use cases. Where is it seen, but why? That's what's most important to me. Just because a use case did a thing that was good, I want to find out where else can it be reused? How can we expand that scalability? So in identifying AI agent capabilities and differentiators and why they're good for government processes, it's really a two-part question. The first part depends on the features you're looking to compare. Back in the days, we were all talking about, do you have a run book? Do the rules work? All those old things that you would normally use to assess, can we automate? That's gone. Now it talks about adaptability. Does the system learn and adapt dynamically? Wow. Does it have cognitive capabilities? Does the solution use AI, machine learning, and natural language processing for intelligent decisions, not just for a bell and whistle, right? And then lastly, something that we didn't consider 5 to 10 years ago is human interaction. How can we engage in a contextual dialogue with decision-making and intelligence with these solutions? So obviously, that's going to be good for the government, but let's talk about some of those pain points and why we have these use cases. So obviously, processes haven't gotten more complex. We've just documented them more thoroughly now, and we've kind of optimized them and streamlined them. And now we see multiple step workflows, multi-steps. And what that means is our government processes, it's usually an interpretation of policy mixed in with some compliance checking and extensive documentation review, taking up time and adding complexity. Traditional automation has issues with that, right? But agentic AI autonomously completes these steps easily. For instance, FOIA request processing. Who doesn't love FOIA requests? Agentic AI can seamlessly first determine the request compliancy. Did they address it to the right place? Did they request the right thing? Did they address fees? It can then search through the various databases to determine, do we even have that kind of information? It can redact sensitive information from the information to be provided. It can even handle communication changes, asking for updates from the request by the requester and talking to contract officers that review these requests all seamlessly, thereby streamlining this outrageously resource-heavy process. It also eliminates that human error and speeds things up so we can get the information where it needs to be as per government policy.
And
then, of
Brett,
course,
so Brett, may I ask, we're not talking about, these are entire government back office, public sector workflows spanning millions, if not, even billions of documents and things that are getting that a solution needs to handle, right? So when you're evaluating and looking at new technologies to handle these types of use cases, there has to be an element of large scale operability, right? I think that's one of the key points that you've always mentioned, whether it's something like an auditing reconciliation solution or agent, or a permit application processing agent or something like that. Can you elaborate a little bit on the scale of how these agents can work on all these documents or all these
absolutely. It goes back to the data conundrum, right? Yes, we've got process. Now we've got data. We have access to massive amounts, but government agencies routinely deal with unstructured data. Emails, scanned documents, PDFs, handwritten forms, much like Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Health and Human Services, Veterans Administration, Social Security Administration. It's difficult for those agencies to put the humans necessary to instantaneously give you the right answer. AI agents excel at extracting, categorizing, and analyzing this kind of information. Now, the VA, the Veterans Administration, could leverage AI agents to process disability claims. A portion of that process is automated now, but it could be fully fulfilled by AI analyzing medical records and doctor's notes, making it faster and more accurate than a manual human review. There's a lot of bias and lack of trust in us humans, whereas that can be pushed out of AI to only follow the process and do it expertly. A lot along the same lines of using that general idea to determine what can we do versus what should we do through keeping that human in the loop, especially for decision making.
Those are all great points, Brett. And I also want to mention that we're talking, internal processes happening within public sector organization, but these aren't limited to just that, right? I'm a citizen. I think the majority of people that are on this webinar are citizens. How can a public sector entity utilize AI agents for citizen enablement, right? That's something that we're seeing in the US, we're seeing globally. That's I have some thoughts, but Brett, if you'd like to go first, and then I can share.
Yeah, absolutely. So think of the realm of public safety and emergency response. AI agents provide real-time situational awareness and optimize resource allocation. Disaster response teams struggle with fragmented data sources, delays, and humans in the way, not in the loop. AI can do things through an agent that humans can't because we are limited. It can aggregate satellite imagery, social media, emergency calls, and sensor data to do things that citizens need. For instance, FEMA's use of AI in hurricane response cut disaster response time by 30%, while AI-driven wildfire detection in California reduced evacuation times by up to 40%. Now, the crazy thing is, perhaps moving forward, things will be different because of citizen services for emergency response. Let's say, for instance, I live in Florida, so I live this and breathe this. AI agents can coordinate across agencies, map and model damage projections, predict resource shortages, and optimize emergency responses, ensuring the fastest and most efficient aid distribution with constant follow-up, cross-agency coordination, and next step projections. So Aaron, a hurricane came and blew your house apart, water's flooding into your first floor, and now what do? Your roof just flew away. Right now, what do? AI sends you a text providing you links for rescue, safety, shelter, and security. That's your AI agent working with you. Respond with yes if you'd like to begin building your available benefits profile, because you kind of got to get somewhere safe right now, and you don't have time to enter your social security number. It's already there. So I think that's kind of cool stuff.
I completely agree with that, and hopefully not just in an emergency situation, but even everyday tasks like getting enabled digital adoption from a government or from my city to a citizen to be able to go on and use the public infrastructure and sign up for specific services, right, and get guided there. And I mean, the largest thing today is we know these public center entities have high volume, low bandwidth. And I think the one key point, Brett, that I want to make is that, if it's demystifying, taking away a myth, is that AI agents are not replacing, right? That's not the goal. That's not where it has to be. It is simply collaborating and empowering teams to get their whole workflow, their whole processes done at a better rate. So maybe Brett, let me ask just a random question. What is the coolest AI agent that you've seen today? If you could, just fun little question there before we go back to.
It all depends on how you're defining cool. The most futuristic application of AI agents is swarm intelligent. That's where multiple AI agents work together to solve massive scale problems like that disaster response use case. Huge things can happen, but like you mentioned, absolutely not. AI or agentic AI does not replace government workers. That's a huge myth. Just like flying cars, right? We don't need flying cars. We have planes, so we're good there, but we do need AI. In my opinion, the biggest misconception about AI in the public sector is that it's going to replace government employees. Rather than eliminating jobs, it allows the public servants, the civil servants, to focus on higher value work by creating new roles in AI management, ethics, data analysis, or automation development. The real risk, yeah.
Can I elaborate on that? So one of the most important and popular AI agent solutions that Superbity is deploying today across all levels is this finance reconciliation agent, right? And it goes back to where entities dealing with thousands and millions of financial documents, invoices, supporting documents, right? And how do you know that they're correct, right? I mean, you can have a traditional RPA solution or a traditional solution that's automating that work, but how do you actually know that there's no gaps in numbers, slips in percentages, right? Well, that's exactly where an AI agent comes in place, where what Superbity is doing is we're able to ingest all of that information, right, securely, and have an agent automatically map out this document, this invoice is tied to these 10 different documents, and therefore it looks like there was a discrepancy with the percentage rate, or there was hours missed, or there was an overpayment, right? I've just traditionally seen that a lot of different enterprises, government agencies are trying to do that manually, right? And there's a lot of man hours spent in that, a lot of accuracy issues. I think that's an immediately deployable solution that can drive ROI there. And maybe Brett, what does deploying an agent look like today, right? If for people that are interested, we want to make that process simple. What does that look like?
Well, that's interesting, because bank reconciliations, financial reconciliations, invoice processing, everyone does it, but everyone does it differently. So it's not as simple as you think. However, deploying agentic AI to do this is much easier than it used to be with straight automation. What it typically looks like is we have to understand the human process. What do you do? And no judgment, but did you do it right? Systems integrators like us, we see the invoice processing, bank reconciliation processes over and over. The great thing about it is agentic AI will not guess. It will not get it wrong. Numbers are numbers. I'm terrible at math, but agentic is not. It knows exactly what the data is and why it's there, and it knows how to use it. For instance, I've often said I can read an apartment lease and tell you exactly what the security deposit is and if parking comes with it. However, if you give me 1,000 apartment leases and 10 minutes to tell you the average security deposit and if 50% or more contain free parking, I can't do that. It's just me. I'm terrible at math. I can't average all those numbers, but agentic AI instantaneously can. And you can then ask it, well, which apartment lease contains the maximum amount security deposit? Where's my min? Where's my medians? And it will crosshair and show you exactly where in your documentation the information you're looking for resides. Then you can ask questions about why it resides there and the document structure, the data, which we can't do with legacy solutions. We've got to have what's now agentic AI to show us what we can't see across these massive, large data sets. Now, to answer your question, what does it take to deploy it? Select a partner that can help you do this and has already learned the lessons for you. You're your process owners and your subject matter experts. You know what your agency and what your department does. Share that knowledge with us, and we can either design something end-to-end, partial agentic AI augmentation, or tool belt agentic AI to make you bigger, better, faster. We can make 30 people look like 300 once you get agentic AI working with you.
Brett, great point. And I do want to mention that it's not just the understanding, right? The brain is one thing. It's the action that makes the world the difference, and the ability for an agent to connect all these different systems together and process a task and notify, whether one step is notifying somebody that, hey, there are discrepancies in this specific solution, right? Using this reconciliation agent as the example, or processing it all the way through. So that's really where agentic AI agents shine, is not just understanding the data, flagging things, whatever the goal is, right? In today, Superbity offers over 40 pre-built agents across all back office and citizen enablement operations, right? And that being said, I know, Brett, we're almost reaching time here. If you'd like to share, Superbity is allied with NSS. Brett, if you'd like to share a little bit about some of the recent, successes that you've had, or how easy it is to work with Superbity and NSS. And then I think we can wrap up from there.
I've been doing this for 16 years and I've been waiting for you. And I'm happy that you're here now. I've lived through the evolution of scripting all the way up to what we hope to be artificial general intelligence. So yes, we've had some successes here. For instance, go right now today and try to hire 40 resources that do 40 different things for your organization. And then give us a call, and Superbity could deploy those 40 agentic AI agents doing that same work, but they'll do it 24 hours a day. That's a huge difference of scale of capabilities that we offer. But I do want to talk about the future of what's to come. Once you do adopt agentic AI, what's next?
Right.
It's going to start self-optimizing. As Radhika mentioned, think of a world where agentic AI, it self-optimizes. It's deterministic and watching. It can tell itself where improvements need to be made. For instance, let's say the FAR policy gets updated. Boom, agentic AI already has taken those updates and put it into its lexicon. It not only executes tasks, but continually improves. I think that was the whole effort of TQM, Six Sigma, and everything, continual service improvement or citizen service improvement. Then it should become domain specific, where it now sees context across industries. Manufacturing becomes supply chain, which becomes procurement, which becomes accounts payable and receivable. in a line, like we'd hoped digital twins would do. It somewhat enables to create, refine, and innovate like humans. But where are we going? Well, the future of AI in public sector, it's not about replacing those humans, as we mentioned earlier. It's really about empowering those humans to do more with the same level of knowledge, but with counterparts based on technology that helps you do what you're supposed to do expertly.
Brett, you said it beautifully. You say a lot of things beautifully. Thanks for that great note. So I will leave on this point. Today, Supervity is excellent partners with NSS. We know we're operating in state government, federal government, working with cities and municipalities. The technology is here and right now. And I know, Thaden, you have a great point, a bit skeptical when Brett says it never makes mistakes. It's a good point, right? What we've trained these agents to do, if I may quickly, Brett, is, we don't expect an AI agent to be perfect, but we do expect it to know and reason when it thinks that it's not confident in something and flag it, right? And go back to alert, go back to a human and say, hey, this is what I've seen. I'm a little bit unsure. Can you look at this a little bit more specifically, right? We have that in operation today in human in the loop and human on the loop capabilities. And Brett, maybe how you've seen that type of issue also handled in your case, it'd be great to share.
I'll use the language all of us developers use. There are no mistakes. There are no issues. It's simply an exception to the process. Not everything's going to be happy path supported and enabled. There are those donkeys and thunderstorms that occur. And so when a system or an agentic AI agent encounters something it's not configured to do, it doesn't guess like humans. It doesn't chat GPT, what's the answer? It simply stops and says, human, show me what I'm supposed to do now. I don't have this knowledge. I don't have this information. What would you do? And it watches. It can take that information and update its learning models or its operations workflow. But typically it says, human, here's what I'm planning to do. Do you approve this action? Let's rerun it. So those mistakes, can't make them because it can't guess. It's configured to do one thing expertly, exactly as humans do. So if the process is garbage and humans are making mistakes and we program that into the AI model, yep, we're going to be making mistakes, but that's our fallacies, not the machines. Great.
Brett, I think we are at time here. I do want to sincerely thank you and everyone in attendance today. We are here, this is happening today. You can always reach out to Supervity, NSS, whoever it may be, and we can share exactly what are different agencies doing today and how to get started quickly and really prove it out. So I'd thank you all again for joining this webinar.
Thanks again, everybody.
Take care. Bye.